take a moment and just allow yourself to drop deep into yourself. Allow the attention, the focus to shift from the outer world to the world within. Just allow yourself to drop from being connected in attention and focus every moment to that which is going on around you. And just shift the awareness for a few moments to the world within. Draw that awareness inward. Just allow yourself to drop into the presence, that expansive presence within the self. All of that in the outer world keeps changing. The sights and sounds, sensations. But that presence of you, that presence of your awareness, your consciousness, that doesn't change. Just take a moment and tap into that which doesn't change, that unchanging aspect of you. You may find it helpful to draw the awareness to the breath. The breath can help to anchor and ground us within. Just drawing that awareness to the breath. We're not changing it. We're not judging it. We're not labeling it. We're just aware of the breath. And with the breath, you can add a very gentle mantra. Just helps to ground and anchor the mind. And the mantra is so hum. Soham means I am that. I am one with the universe. I am one with all that is, all that has ever been. I am one with the eternal reality. I am that. And as you inhale, you can chant silently to yourself. So. Just gently on the inhalations. And on the exhalations, you can chant silently to yourself. Hum. Just allowing that mantra to flow with the breath. As the awareness pulls more and more inward. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and gently rub them against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly lower the hands and open the eyes. Welcome to Satsang. Wonderful, wonderful to be together. We'll start, as always, with one of the questions that's come in advance from our family joining us online through the gifts of technology and the internet. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. 2 years back, I attended evening Aarti at Parmarth, Niketan. It was such a highly spiritual experience. I felt like someone from the sky was blessing us. Can you please explain this experience? It was so real to me. This is from Ankit Jha. So, as I say almost every evening in the Aarti, it's a sacred opportunity to connect with the divine. And that divine is blessing us. Absolutely. Not from sitting on a cloud somewhere, but actually from everywhere. God and blessings, we speak about blessings being showered, but it isn't really like that. Unless you could think about an infinite and eternal cloud that just showered and showered and showered and showered, because God's not sitting up someplace, showering down onto us like rain from a cloud, or even like rays from the sun that are coming to us from one place. That divine is everywhere. And experiences like the Aarti help us tap into that and experience it. So absolutely, you were being blessed. If it felt like it was coming from the sky, no problem, don't worry. Wherever it feels like it's coming from to you, let it come. The main thing is, open yourself to the blessings. It's a powerful experience for so many reasons, one of which is what I was speaking about tonight, which is that power of bhakti, that power of love of the divine, and being in the presence of people who are immersed in love for the divine. It's also a deeply powerful experience because there is something about the mantras, about the prayers, about the puja, about the place, about the energy, that just absolutely, if you let it, connects you deep to the divine within. So, Ankit, I'm very glad that you felt that. That's the point. That's why we do it, is for people to feel that presence of the divine. It's an interesting thing because it's available everywhere. God is everywhere. And there is something uniquely special about Ganga. And on Ganga, there is something uniquely special about being here. I've been up and down Ganga. I've had a very, very great blessing of being in so many different cities and towns and villages along Ganga throughout almost all of the states she flows through. And it's always beautiful. It's always holy. It's always Ganga. But the power of the accessibility of that presence of the divine feels to me and to many other people I've spoken to, feels uniquely powerful right here. We've given up trying to explain it logically or scientifically a long time ago and just accept it as is, that there are different energy vortexes in different ways around the world. And that this is just a very powerful energetic vortex. And in the time of the Aarti, it gets heightened and increased. And yeah, so I hope that you can all experience it as much as possible. Other questions? Any question that anyone here has? Yeah, just come to the mic. There's a mic on each side.
Hello. I'm hearing you and other gurus talking about past lives and reincarnation with such a certainty. And I'm wondering, how can you be so certain about it?
about birth and rebirth, the reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So yeah, reincarnation, this cycle of birth and death, is a really core component of belief in the Hindu tradition, what we call the Sanatan Dharma tradition, the Vedic tradition. And for me, there's two ways of being certain. One you could call in the realm of science, one you could call in the realm of spirituality, or, logic and faith. As far as the science aspect, the logic aspect, there's actually an incredible amount of evidence. There's lots and lots and lots of stories in lots of books that have been absolutely checked out and verified, not by people who already lived here and believed it, but by scientists from the West coming in from other countries, either into India to verify something here, or of course verifying it around the world, because it's not true only for Hindus. It's a core teaching in the tradition. But we don't believe that only Hindus have reincarnation and birth and death. We believe everybody does. And so a lot of the books, a lot of the studies have actually been done all over the world. And a lot of the stories that have been proven are indisputable. I mean, there are situations, for example, like a young child living in one village, one city, keeps talking about something that happened to him in a different village, in this place, and gives actually enough details that they're able to locate where is that place or who are those people. And the kid, 3, 4 years old kid, 2 years old kid, they've got all of this detailed evidence about things that have happened to them. How they were killed, what they did, where they lived, what they stuck in a closet, what they hid in the wall. And then people go back and they find it. Because just because one person has died doesn't mean the village isn't still there. The village is there, the house is there, the wall is there, the cabinet is there. Birth and death reports are there. They know how people died. And in a lot of cases, it's not ancient history. They're talking about something that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And the villagers are like, yeah, exactly. This is exactly what happened. It was this guy's son. And it matches up exactly. So from that level, if it's something that you're interested in, there is an abundance of factual stories, memories that people have had that have then been verified, that are brought into books, brought into articles, brought into studies. So there's on that side. For me, the other piece, which for me is equally powerful, is faith. It is something that, despite all of the different streams of the tradition, all of the different ways of belief, ways of practice, ways of worship that we have, there's a handful of things, a small handful of things, that everyone agrees on, regardless of whatever else they may agree on or disagree on. But one thing that they all agree on is the law of karma, and the way that the law of karma intersects with this cycle of birth and death, ultimately creating our destiny. This journey of the individual soul, from physical body to physical body, with karmic packages, with the sukshma sharir, the subtle body. So for me, the faith is also there. I feel like if if I'm going to dedicate my life, my spiritual practice, to wisdom that has been given to me by sages, by saints, by mystics, by yogis, by rishis, and it works, what they teach works, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's ways of understanding the self and the universe, to say, well, I believe all of this works. But this other thing you've said over here, even though you all agree on it, and you say it emphatically, and it's a core tenet of your teachings, I'm not convinced. No reason I'm not convinced, I'm just not convinced. I've got too much faith for that. And I've got too much awareness of my own lack of knowledge. I mean, if I had some specific way of knowing that it doesn't happen, then by all means I would say this, what you're teaching, it doesn't match with my lived experience. But on a personal level, I don't have any specific memory either way. Neither do I have a memory of a past life, nor do I have a memory of not existing and then just suddenly existing out of the blue. The only memory I have is continuum. I couldn't tell you the first moment that I realized I existed. It was kind of a continuum. I know I exist now. I know that I knew it several years ago. I mean, I can go back to childhood, but when was the first moment you knew you existed? I don't know. It's been a continuum. And so I have no reason to believe that that continuum began only with the formation of my body, or only when my mom pushed me out, or only when, a sperm and an egg came together, depending on when you believe, life begins or consciousness begins. I have no reason to believe that the continuum has not been always on, and that I just get more conscious, more and more conscious. So for me, the faith is really powerful, but there's also, of course, the science. Yeah. Yes.
Ma'am, I have a confusion about, just my friend asked about the rebirth. I have confusion that it's black magic, spirit, ghost, and people can hypnotize others. Is possible in this world? I personally don't believe in that.
Okay. Black magic. Can people hypnotize or put a spell on other people? So there's all kinds of energy in the world. Lots of different types of energy. We have solar energy. We have wind energy. We have fossil fuel energy. We have nuclear energy. Thermal energy. We have the energy of love. We all know that's an energy. We have the energy of blessings. Again, that's an energy. Every one of us, I would imagine, at least at one time in your life, had a moment, an experience of feeling like there was grace, there was a blessing. It's an energy. We know the power of positive energy. The power of being in the presence of someone who's a being of light. It feels different, right? You're in the presence of some people, it feels a certain way. In the presence of other people, it feels a different way. People talk about good vibrations, bad vibrations. What is that? It's energy. Positive energy, negative energy. there is a negative energy that can be cultivated and created through different practices. Do you need all kinds of magic for it? No, just focus on hatred in your mind. In 30 seconds, you will have generated a lot of negative energy. Focus it on someone, they'll feel it. Haven't you ever felt being with someone who really loves you? You feel it. They don't have to say, "Oh, I love you." You just feel it. Haven't you ever felt being with someone who is really jealous or really angry or really prejudiced against you or just otherwise really hates you for some reason? You feel it. So there is a negative energy. And yet, in the same way that light always dispels darkness, regardless of what the darkness was created out of, regardless of who created it, when they created it, why they created it, how they created it, light always dispels darkness. In the same way, divine energy, energy of good, energy of light, always can dispel, can mitigate, can quiet, calm, quash that energy of black magic. So yes, it exists in the same way that darkness exists. But energy of good, energy of light is much more powerful. And so I'm glad you don't believe in it. There's no reason to move through the world believing in that type of energy. But a lot of times people do believe in it, and they feel very worried and troubled that maybe someone has done black magic to them. And the answer, not just the answer that feels true to me, but the answer that I have heard Pujya Swamiji and so many masters give, is don't worry about it. Chant your mantra. Have a bath in Ganga. Have faith in the divine. That energy will always, always be able to dispel the black magic. Great. Any other questions? Yes. Can someone turn on his mic? Or maybe you can just turn it on. It's on the side or the top or somewhere. Now there's going to be a button.
Hello.
And it's not that one. It's up higher. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. I have a question about ego. That seems to be, ego seems to be a major obstacle in the spiritual progress, and it seems extremely hard to get rid of it. Can you suggest some ways to destroy ego and make progress?
The ego. Yeah. So I know a lot of people talk about destroying or annihilating the ego, fighting with the ego. And you certainly can think of it like that. You can think of kind of the force of light within you, vanquishing a force of darkness within you. But for me personally, I don't like thinking about it like that, because the idea of there being a battle within myself doesn't feel very good. I mean, because then you suffer, right? I mean, regardless of who wins at the end of the day, there's fighting, there's battles, there's conflict. And as I always say, regardless of who wins that fight, you're going to sleep with the loser. right? There's no couch outside that you can make your ego go and sleep after you've defeated it. It's going to bed with you, having been annihilated and squashed. So I try to think of it more in terms of seeing it, noticing it, acknowledging it, but not letting it run the show. The ego is not the enemy. The ego is a part of you that has generated and developed over your life to help you understand kind of what distinguishes you from others. This is what makes me unique. These are my values, my ethics, my priorities. It helps us as we're growing understand, where am I? Where am I different? So it actually can be positive. Everybody's smoking, everybody's drinking, but no, I'm not interested. That's actually ego. It's actually this inner identity that says, I don't want to do that. Everybody's eating hamburgers. I'm a vegan. It's an ego thing. Not bad at all, but just an identity, a sense of self that says my values, my ethics, my priorities, my decision. Wherever there is my, it's ego. So the ego is not the enemy. The dilemma comes when on a spiritual path we're really looking to break and melt these borders between us. We want to stop thinking me, mine, my. And we want to recognize us, oneness, no distinction, no separation. We want to stop identifying as body, as history, as story, as thoughts. And we want to start identifying as soul and spirit and consciousness, which doesn't have preferences around that because it's eternal. It's not about a particular body and a particular career or a particular narrative or a particular set of choices or beliefs. And the ego becomes the barrier there. It also becomes a barrier when you're looking, in most cases, to just live in peace and live happily, as Pujya Swamiji was saying in the Aarti tonight, in the one-line mantra that he gave about having a happy marriage. Right? And he said you can either be right or you can be married, meaning happily married. If you're committed to being right, you can be pretty sure you're not going to be happily married for very long. And whether it's an actual spouse marriage, whether it's a friend, whether it's any relationship. And so the ego blocks us. And so what you really want to learn how to do is to see the ego, acknowledge it, be able to notice it as it's coming from far away. Don't wait till the ego's up in your face, speaking through your mouth, before you notice that it's there. You want to be able to notice it from far away. Ah, yeah, this is triggering my ego. So that the conscious you can regain control of the moment and not allow the ego to be the one to speak, to act, to drive the show. But don't think about annihilating it, killing it. Because then all it does is it pits you against yourself. Then you've got good self, bad self, and you're fighting inside. The truth is, it's all self. It's all you. There's just different aspects of you. Don't pit them against each other. Just acknowledge it. Notice it. You know, it's like in a lot of families or office places or communities of any kind, small or large. Inevitably, there's at least one person, if not a couple, who are kind of troublemakers, right? They're the ones who are always sort of, they're negative and they're nagging or they're this and they're that. Well, you don't kill them. But you also don't make them the boss. Right? Because then you know everybody's going to quit. If you want to keep the company together, or the community together, you're not going to kill them, you're not going to excommunicate them or exile them or do something that's going to have them be on your doorstep screaming and yelling or, you know, having some kind of a fit. But you don't want them running the show. And so you just kind of, they can coexist. But you just make sure that no one else, you know, follows their instructions. That they're not put in charge of anything, that they're never given a microphone or the keys to the car or the, you know, keys to the bank or something, that they don't get the checkbook, they don't get any way of making a decision or of impacting anyone else or anything else. And then they just sort of coexist. You know, when you realize that no matter how loudly you shout, nobody's going to pay any attention, you stop shouting. And that's what happens with the ego. So just let it be. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. And I look so forward to seeing you tomorrow. And so much love to you all.